Hey, welcome, Misfits Managed Nation. So excited to be back. I've been gone for a minute. I've been under the weather. So I apologize. We've been missing, but I know you've probably been enjoying the recordings because those were still some really great shows. So, hey, but I'm super excited. I've got some news, good news, bad news, and I'll go bad news first. My counterpart, Lauren, is no longer with us. She's had to step away. The Lord has kind of taken her a different direction, and I honor and respect that in true Misfits Managed Nation manner. But
Right,
you know,
right.
your boy Coach G, I don't leave you empty-handed. I have brought you a new co-host, Evie, the healer of queens and kings bowling. So can we welcome
Hello, hello.
Evie to Misfits Managed Nation for tonight? Yeah, say
Thank you,
something to us
thank
real quick.
you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I am honored to be here. We're holding positivity and space for Lauren. Love
Right.
you, miss you, support you, love light all day. And I'm just excited to be here and just so excited to what's going to happen next.
Well, and then throwing some announcements. I know Evie and I are ready to get rolling. We've got 2 weeks, so we're going to do this week
Yeah.
and we're going to do next week. And unfortunately, that will be the end of Misfits Managed Nation. But I'm asking you guys to transition with me. I have a different co host. Actually, I'm going to talk about both things because I have a different co host for this time slot that I'll introduce maybe next week or the week after. But I'm pivoting into a ministry that I've been working on called Unbreakable Souls. It's part of a much larger ministry called Beck Battleground Equipping Center. So it's one of the bases. I kind of see it as like Beck is like a military thing. So it's one of
Hmm.
the bases or hubs of Beck. So the podcast will be called Unbreakable Souls. And really the purpose is helping individuals put a name and face to their traumas that have beset
Hmm.
them or separated them from God, and then help them find who their authentic selves are. I think
Awesome.
once we've identified that, we can help them to become liberated, unshackled, and free to realize their
Mhm.
God ordained freedom. So that's been
Mm.
burning in my heart for a long time, and went through some trauma, at the end of the year into the beginning of 2024 or 25. And so you guys know that, Misfits Net. I've talked about that, but it actually ignited a fire in me to get back to work and get started.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
as sad as I am about losing Lauren, I'm super excited about starting this new podcast, Unbreakable Souls. That being said, I want to also announce a secondary podcast that'll be coming. I don't know. We haven't set a time frame necessarily yet for that, but Evie and I are going to be doing another podcast called.
Yeah.
I'll let you say it, Evie.
Well, the kings and queens, the crowns. What did we decide on? Because we had two names we were circling.
Oh, I thought we said Kingdom Kings and Queens.
We did
What
say kingdom,
what
kings,
you
and
just said?
queens. I said the kings and queens of leading the kingdom. But either way,
Okay, well, we'll have a name ready for you in a couple
we'll
weeks.
have a name ready for you. What we're looking is crowns up and problems down. That's what. So
Right,
looking to
right,
lift up your crown
right,
and guide you back into something so much bigger. So look forward to it because I believe God is calling something out of all of us.
right. Amen.
Mhm.
So I am jacked about both of these Unbreakable Souls and whatever we name the secondary.
Right.
So it's new for us. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks, and again,
Mhm.
just the way things have happened, it feels like the Lord is pushing us in this
Yes.
direction and saying,
Yeah.
"Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
the clock is ticking. It's time to get started."
Right.
I think Evie would agree with me that we feel the souls.
Yes,
We,
absolutely.
we
We
feel
feel the
the souls
souls.
that are attached to this
We
podcast
do.
that are
We
coming up,
do.
and so it's time for
Absolutely.
us to get started. So
Yeah.
I'm super
Absolutely.
excited about both of them. And I'll tell you, we'll be able to tell you more about that next week as we wrap up
Mm.
Misfits Managed Nations here. So, Misfits Managed, we want you to follow in both of those podcasts. So,
Yes.
we'll give you
Absolutely.
some information on that here next week. But, we're here and it's time to get rolling. I think we need to recap the climb with
Mm.
just a couple weeks ago was a powerful podcast.
Yes,
I shared
absolutely.
some of my story of what I've been through. Lauren shared, Mark shared. I mean, it was powerful. But Evie, what's funny about that was supposed to be one of our guests in that show, and she got sick
Mm, I
and couldn't
did.
make it. So, and
Hmm.
now I'm sick, coming off of being sick again. But we're both here. We're healthy.
Hmm.
I'm still a little bit sick, so I may pause
Yes.
and cough a little bit. But man, she's got a powerful story that we're going to unpack tonight that she's going to share with us. And it's in line what we've been talking about, the climb.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
Evie, kick us off however you want to get started. Now, you know your boy, I got you. I'm going to, pump you up and push some questions your way and all of that. But really,
So
listen.
yeah. Awesome. So, this past weekend, I spoke with AYPN on the stage, and we talked about marching through the madness. And that speech was based off of where I was wanting to jump from during the climb series that you all were in, was just learning how to respect the next version. I think what some things sometimes when we're climbing through something or going through something or getting up from somewhere, we're really good about the testimony and not necessarily the test, right?
Mm,
So we'll say, God brought me through, and he woke me up this morning. We say all the catchphrases, but sometimes it's the test that's supposed to be told. Some people don't need your whole, they don't want all your details, right? I'm not trying to, change the names to hide the guilty, right? But I am trying to see, what was your go through? See, sometimes we say we climbed out of something, we made it through something, we walked through the fire of something, but we never express that while I was walking through the fire, I was coming out, not just coming out of it and burned and bitter or hurting, or coach has been very vocal the last few Misfits manages and going through the climb and the emotion attached to the climb he had to go through and the testimony of it. But it's the test, right? It's
right,
more so about the test, like, what is it? So sometimes you start to break it down, like when you're talking about dating someone, what is it that drew me so much to you that I didn't see you when I was drawing close, right? What is it when we're talking about business
oh, you're hitting
relationships?
home. You're hitting home. We're hitting
Yeah,
close.
you're talking about business relationships. You say, like Coach and I just announced that we're going to do this, but if we don't align, right? If we're not flowing correctly, if you someone can see me in the street and either one of us is not defending the other one, or at least have a common goal in mind, and who we're trying to reach and what we're trying to do, then it's mismanagement, right?
Right,
And but we forget about the test. Sometimes you need to sit back and see why you needed the test, right? Why God is allowing you to climb out of something else, or why life itself. I say God a lot because that's where my beliefs stand from. But I'm not just speaking about Jesus Christ and that's it, and there's nothing else. I'm talking to source, I'm talking to spirit, whatever it is that you identify with, there's a power bigger than me
right,
that needs to be spoken about more than just when it's fun. People will say, God answered my prayers. They won't tell you that they got to pray, right? We'll say, well, God brought me out of something, but we don't say, I have been in the valley. See, I like to gloat about my valley, because if I'm gloating about my valley, then I'm jobbing it, right?
right, right.
Because now I'm in the mindset of, well, I had a valley, so that must mean I'm doing something right. Because see, nobody thieves don't break into empty houses.
Come on, girl.
You
Right.
see what I'm saying? So we want to get into that mind space of why that is, instead of just talking about your success of the thing, or God brought me through again, or the bills got paid again. But what happened when you was valiant?
Well,
See, it's hard to climb,
I got to speak into
Mhm.
the test. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to speak into the test. And if
Come
anyone
on, come
has been
on.
tested, both of us have been tested in this last,
Mm,
you know,
yes.
12, 15, 16 months or so. But um, one of the things we've talked about here on Misfits Managed is Jewels of the Journey. We did a
Hmm.
whole series on Jewels of the Journey. And
Right.
to Miss Evie's point, the value of the experience is the journey.
Right.
And I think until you've learned to conquer darkness and understand that darkness is not always your enemy, sometimes it can be your friend, and to learn
Absolutely.
to value pain. I
Mhm.
learned, I think it was what was his name? Will Smith said that at the end of pain is your greatest reward or your greatest victory.
Right.
So
Right.
if you
Right.
want
Right.
to experience greatness or happiness at its highest level, or success at its highest level, you're gonna have to go
Right.
through pain. You're gonna have to learn
Right.
through the journey. So, but
Yeah.
we taught a lesson of jewels of the journey here, that we've learned to value that experience, because
Mhm. Mhm.
serve a God, and Evie and I believe in God. Again, she talked about
Mhm.
source, whatever that is for you,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
we have learned here in Misfits Managed Nation that God is purposeful in everything that He does.
Right.
He just
Absolutely.
doesn't put us through a journey or um, a pathway just for the sake of doing it. There's
Mhm.
always a reason and a purpose behind that. So
Mhm.
we've learned to slow down, pause,
Right.
and
Yeah.
reflect as we're going through that journey or that test
Yeah.
point, because there's jewels
Yes. It
in the
is jewels all along the way.
all along the way. If you, oh my God,
Yeah.
is that your peace over there, Lord?
Yes.
Is that a
Yes.
spiritual blessing over there? Oh my God, there's
Mhm.
a financial blessing. You
Yes.
know what? I needed healing, and it's hanging from the tree right there.
Right.
So there's
Absolutely.
so many
Absolutely.
jewels, valuable things, if we
Mhm.
just pause and relax,
Right.
enjoy the experience. And sometimes
Yeah.
you might have to enjoy the experience in pain, in tears, right?
Correct.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Speaking of that and everything, and I'm going to let y'all go back to y'all's conversation. But as I've told you before, coach and everything, one of uh, my dad is an artist. He does a lot of things, but one of his foresights is, or one of his great gifts is, he is a artist and a photographer, and he did some rebel art, because the rebel art means that you display the art where people don't expect it. So it's kind of like guerrilla art
Right.
forms and all along those lines.
Right.
But one of
Mhm.
his guerrilla art forms that he did was this piece that he did using a like the fire thing that you pull whenever there's a fire
Uh-huh.
alarm, and he
oh
put
yeah.
in
Uh-huh.
that notice thoughts and prayers, because what he was noticing, and it kind of comes back to what y'all were talking about, is that when people are going through hardship, whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in life and everything, we will
Mhm.
quickly give thoughts and prayers without any action behind the meaning and everything. So I was wondering y'all's
Right.
thoughts around that, because that's kind of why he made the piece, was because he got, whether it was Katrina way back when, or everything, meaning the hurricane, or whether it was some of the more recent things where people would, even, I'm sure you faced it, coach, where you went through both the relationship of both business and personal relationships, and people were giving you your thoughts and prayers and everything, and you were seeing that some of those might not have been sincere, which is kind of what Jim was
Mm.
attacking in his art piece and everything. So I was wondering y'all's take on that, because I do know that sometimes
Woo.
people will give some thoughts and prayers, but not really go
He's
there. So I
opening the
probably
door.
opened up a can of worms,
Woo.
but I opened it up, and I will find out what y'all got to say about that, because it's my dad's art piece, and it's still out there. You can go to bambooturtle.com, and I think you can see the images that he put out there and everything. But definitely, I just wanted y'all's take, because it's one of my dad's
Go ahead, girl.
more poignant art pieces in
Woo.
my.
Man. Woo, Mark. So you are hitting on something that I was actually going to say. Um, when you get into the motion of comfortability
Mhm.
and familiarity, you get a lot of people. So I've been in church my whole life. And when I say my whole life, I'm talking about on Sunday there was something to do. We had to be there on Monday. Then you had to have all the deaconess meeting on Wednesday, Bible study, So I'm talking about all my life, right?
Prayer, choir
And
rehearsal,
right, choir rehearsal,
Sunday morning service,
deaconess move, morning, get the pastor, so
Sunday
we were very
school,
active,
evening
right? So
Sunday school,
everything, you hear me? So
WWW.
so, but what I found, and I use this when I'm talking to my clients, is when I used to love it on Sundays when people who ain't seen you, right? So their way of telling you that they ain't seen you is, I've been yet praying for you.
Oh,
Now I don't know if anybody's heard that one, right? But that's where I come from, right? I've been yet praying for you. And so I just one day, because Evie's a
that
rebel,
undertone that you've been in sin since you've been gone.
right, right. So what you been yetting for? But when I say that, I started wondering, and so I started asking questions back because I am my grandmother's child, God rest her soul. But my granny would call you out on that. So I'd say, I started telling people, and they say, Evie, we out here yet praying for you. I said, well, if you haven't prayed for me yet, baby, please don't.
Right.
Because I would prefer that you don't see, because whatever you sending half conversation. You sending,
Right.
well, Lord, she said she was. Because I feel like when I'm praying for somebody, when I call out your name, when I'm talking about it, I don't need the details, right? I don't need to know why coach was, his heart was broke or what. I don't need the details. What I need is the realness of the meat of
Right.
the emotion, right? So when coach says to me, my whole world, right? Evie, I feel like my heart looked back at me like, what have you done? You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Now I know where to pray, because what I'm praying for is the healing of where God's trying to get you. I can't say that that's not where you needed to go, because he was trying to lead you somewhere, right? But if I'm praying for you, but when I say, am I yet praying for you? Well, you sound like Job's homeboys.
Mm,
They was yet praying for him,
yeah.
right? Or Job's wife, she was yet praying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Don't yet
but
pray.
but if you, yeah, don't yet pray for me.
Yeah.
Please don't. Call my name because you know what I'm going through.
Right.
Don't call out my name because you're hoping for it. And I think when you talk about your dad's piece, the only thing I kept hearing was, but who could pull it if you don't read it first?
Right.
So how can you pull it, if you're gonna read it first? So I'm gonna pull it for, because this looks like a fire alarm, but the truth of the matter is this is forgotten yet praying.
Right.
So I think that's awesome. I think your dad has a great way of putting that. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
That take I go on a different spin on what you just said though, Evie.
Hmm.
The church, and this is no attack against the church because I know we're gonna have
Absolutely, never, never.
never do that. But
Hmm.
we've replaced. It's funny you said that. Do you remember intercessory prayer?
Oh Lord,
Is that like a cuss word in the church today?
man, Father God,
Just say
yes.
prayer.
I,
Ver-
it's not only is it a curse in the sense, but even for someone to tell you now, I'm gonna intercede for you. You
But
don't
you
even
know
know
they're
it.
yet praying for you.
But you're yet praying for me, so your seeds are gonna fall on barren ground,
But
and I
let's
and I just don't want you
explain
to
the
waste
difference
it.
though.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
she eloquently talked about yet prayer. What
Yes.
what is replaced is intercessory prayer, kind of what
Yes.
we should be doing to have the heart, to Mark's point, to have the
Right.
heart of the individual. I don't need to know what's wrong or what
Right.
details of what happened.
Right.
I need to
Hmm.
empathize and connect spirit to spirit, person to
Right.
person,
Right.
and connect with that person and just labor fervently in prayer for them. That's all that's
And
required.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes people don't want all the foo-foo because it's repetition, right? I don't need you to give me the, "Oh, Lord, God ain't gonna give you no more than he can bear. You can bear it, baby." But I'm about bearing
That's
out.
all
You know what I'm
concerned.
talking about? Like I'm out here bearing, but my back broke. I'm out here bearing, but I got 3 slip discs. You know what I'm talking about? Like, can you
Not
do
the
something
three
else?
slip, not the 3 slip disc and everything. I got to tease with them. I'm
I'm
gonna leave
just
y'all alone and everything because I'm gonna let y'all get back to the heart of what y'all were talking about.
saying.
I do have to tease you, Evie, because the other thing that happened, and this is not so much about my dad's art piece, but as you know, or I think that Coach knows as well, even in my 60s, I am still in that single space and everything. And
Oh, here we
I
go.
can't tell you how many times that I have gone to church services and things with my exes and all along those lines. And
Oh Lord.
the church fathers and the church mothers were sitting there going like, well, I just know that you are the one and that I have seen it on this destiny and all along this line. So I'm sitting there going like, I'm still trying to decide if I like this woman, much less if we're going to
Right.
be a couple and everything. But they ready
Look
to
here.
declare you a couple and you still trying to learn each other and everything. So I'm sure
Look
y'all have been
here.
able to do that because y'all are very much
Oh
religious. I'm not
Lord.
saying that I'm the most religious person in the world, but I definitely consider myself spiritual more than I do religious. But I'm still
Right.
sitting there and I have dated women that have been part of some very holiness type churches. And I have just
Hmm.
tripped when I have gone there and the people that are the church mothers are like, yes, I know you are the one. And I'm going to tell you this saint vision that I had. And I'm going like, I'm still trying to decide if I like this
Mark,
person, if they got kids, if I like the kids.
Mark, that's called
Man,
prophet.
let's
It's
hear.
called what?
That's called prophet.
Prophet
Oh
lying.
man,
Exactly.
I was just about to say, did she say she was a prophet first?
She did say that.
Prophet lying. So some prophet liars bother me um, because here's my problem. If I had as many husbands as God has sent these visions to these church
Oh, come
mothers,
on.
I'd have had some problems by now.
Right.
Because I
I'd
need
be
to
arrested
understand
on my
why
wives.
every church, you know what I'm saying? I just know this. God told me this is your husband. Well, could you return the message and say, Evie, would like you to tell her because it just seems rude to show up at all the churches y'all tell me I'm supposed to be
Right,
getting
right.
married at. So, y'all giving me all these husbands. And then it's crazy to me because while you're saying that God showed you this vision, my problem is that why is He giving you insight on a part of my life that I didn't volunteer to you in the first place?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So if that's the case, and you done married me off so many times that I feel like Jesus might just have my name in the Rolodex too often. He needs to slide to somebody else. Slide me left, Lord. I'm okay. So yeah, yeah, I understand about all the services and marriages and dresses and suits we ought to been done had, Mark, because I am in my 40s and I'm just fine until God send him, like they say.
So the right one is set exactly, whether you 60s, 40s, 70s, or whatever. But
Man.
I did have one of those profiting women and everything that used to like to try to guide me to the
Oh Lord.
jewelry section and everything. And that I also knew was included. It was not right. 'Cause I was just going like, wait a minute. I thought we were going to the grocery store. I thought we were going to
Man.
the restaurant. Why are we going by Kay's Jewelers and everything? I didn't
Right,
even know
right,
that I
right.
was even had this on my agenda. But apparently you tried to press the agenda.
My God, I told her, my God says silver and gold. I don't know what you in here want.
Right, right,
Diamonds and rubies, that wasn't what he told me.
right.
So, I'm no,
Well,
that wasn't, he didn't call
Evie,
me there.
mental note for Kingdom Kings and Queens. We're gonna have church talk.
Oh, let's do it.
Break down church talk.
Hmm.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, we'll have to do church talk and church hurt while you can talk yourself into being hurt in
Right,
church.
because all of that is trauma.
Yeah. Woo.
All of that is trauma. We all been hurt by those.
Man, it has. And people don't think it's church hurt. And sometimes your repetition of religion
Yeah,
is the pain that you survived and you turned into trauma bonding with your church.
yeah. That's beautiful. Well, hey, I want to circle back because I know you got a powerful story that we got to
Go
continue to
ahead, go
unpack.
ahead.
So,
Okay.
man, you lost my thought. You got me laughing now. Um, but yeah, I interrupted you when we were talking about the value of
Yeah,
of the
of the
journey.
journey.
That it's not always the destination. That we've got to learn to
Right.
value the experience that we're
Yeah.
going through. I want to throw this, and then I'm gonna throw it back at you. I have a cousin that's near and dear to me that is like a brother, and
Hmm.
we were talking about relationships.
Hmm.
And um, you know, when we talk about relationships, we're talking about relationships that, you know, do you have to have a relationship where your girl is right here in town, or do you value
Mm.
see any worth in long distance relationships? And
Hmm.
I was always of the opinion that, man, a long distance, I'm so relational
Hmm.
and I want to be up close to my person because I'm very
Hmm. Hmm.
relational, I'm very affectionate, loving, all that.
Hmm.
I want to be able to
Hmm.
spend a lot of time with my person. Uh,
Hmm.
but man, watching his experience has taught me some new things, which
Hmm.
speak right into this the power of the journey.
Yeah, yeah,
Because the distance, I'm learning in relationship now when there's a distance, there there's there's some intentionality
yeah,
that
yeah,
has to
yeah.
be forth that you can't just say, oh, I'm getting to know her. You really
Right.
get to know her, and she
Yeah,
really got
absolutely.
to get to know you,
Right.
which then brings so much value to the experience when you do come together.
Hmm.
So I
I,
equate that
I
to what.
think,
Go ahead, jump in.
yeah. No, no, I think that that's I've had both in person and out of state situations and relationships. And I think what I've learned because I have had long distance relationships and had have to make the extra effort to get on a plane, go make a visit, set up actual dates, plan things, the intentionality of it, and the
Tight.
purposefulness,
Yeah.
right?
Come on.
Um, which now, now that I have had those different experiences, I do understand, like yourself, I do want someone in person when that time comes, but I also now have the intentionality to allow them to know they are purposeful in my life, which we used to again in the 90s, we were younger. And so we're like, oh man, I'll see her, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be okay. I'll see him, it's be cool. Because you had this time
Yeah, you
lapse.
took it for
But
granted.
yeah, you took it for granted. Now that you are older, and now that I am older, my time is so valuable, even though I have a busy life. my time is valuable, so I'm intentional with it. I'm intentional with my space. I'm intentional with my energy, right? I don't want to be in anywhere where so I'm so much more um and just intentional and purposeful. I want to say more purposeful because now my choices matter because my time is so spent and taken apart. So when I give you my time, I want it to feel like a gift.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
want it to feel like I could have given this time to other people and I've chosen you, and how much more that time matters. I think people when we're younger we think we have all the time in the world, right? And then we get into our 30s and we're like, okay, well, I've got time now to build this, whatever we think, family, life, what have you. In your 40s, you're slowing down to saying, well, I wasted a lot of energy and time
I need back
on
now.
frivolous things that
Yeah.
now I wouldn't even dedicate to it if I knew better, right? But now, so now my time is so intentional. When I'm in the same room with somebody, I have strategically put myself
Yeah.
there, and I think that that's the purpose that we have. But it also rounds back to the journey, like I was saying. I think a lot of people talk about the valley, and they talk about climbing mountains, but they never talk about speaking to the mountain, right?
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying? They don't
Oh.
talk about speaking to the mountain because we want to get over it and we want to go through it, but we don't want to speak to it because sometimes the mountains that we're battling or facing or asking people to yet be praying for are the mountains that can be spoken to. Some of the things that are blocking your valley and keeping you bound there is your lack of acknowledgement for the journey you're on in the first place.
Hmm. I and see to me, I even sometimes change the wording of that, and I don't say mountain. I call them Goliaths
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm very militant. So for me, they're
yeah,
not necessarily mountains because I see mountains as majestic and beautiful and peaceful.
yeah, yeah,
So for me, I switch my thought when I hear mountain. I'm like, that's a Goliath, which tells me that's my enemy.
yeah.
Um, and you have to speak to your enemy
Yes.
because
I
the
think that
enemy,
that's the thing. Yeah.
yeah, the enemy is constantly speaking at you. The accuser
Yeah.
of the brother,
Absolutely.
he's always coming at you. So not only do I want to speak to that enemy, but I want to attack that enemy as David did
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the weapons of warfare that God has given me. And each of us have different weapons of warfare. That it might be praise and worship, it might be prayer,
Right.
it might be fasting, whatever your weapon is, or be multiple weapons. But I want to utilize.
I think that that's what you have to get to. Like you said, multiple weapons. So now that if I acknowledge that I have multiple weapons, I like that you're saying it's a Goliath, but sometimes but I dare to even go one step further. If it is your Goliath, why are you afraid of it?
Well, I mean, the Goliath is the 10-foot giant that is the Philistine champion. I'm not, and I don't. I'm not saying I'm afraid of the Goliath. It's just a massive obstacle that's in my way. I know the outcome of that. If anything, it provokes me to action. Now I
But
have
if it's your Goliath, you already won.
right. I have this uncircumcised Philistine standing in front of me, gloating at me,
Right.
provoking me to stand up to act.
Right.
So I think sometimes in the journey,
Hmm.
God allows us to be provoked. And that's
Yeah.
why I put it to a Goliath because it didn't seem to phase anybody else. They were fearful. But when David stepped on the scene, he was provoked. Whoa,
Yeah.
who is this Negro talking about my God?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
I,
righteous
I,
indignation rose in him. And I think
yeah.
sometimes in our journey, that's what has to happen.
I can rock with that. I can rock with that. I also would say,
You can rock with that.
um, I can rock with it. I can rock with it. But I also would go as far as to say though, some mountains, albeit so a fierce can be fit a light can be a fire, as we were talking about earlier, fire can be lit in you. But sometimes it's that mountain is you. Right?
Ooh,
So if you know what I'm saying? So I guess for me, that's what that speech was on Saturday. I kept
enemy
saying the
and
madness is
enemy.
me.
Enemy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the madness is me, the inner me, the madness is me. So
yeah.
if I'm speaking to my Goliath, then I also must cope in my inner David. So my battle is inward. which means my mountain that is outward is actually just me deflecting from me.
Mm.
So sometimes when I'm speaking to my mountain, I'm talking to me. And so if my madness is me, if my Goliath is me, you're right. David was the only one that didn't show any fear, and yet the king and everyone else was afraid. So sometimes the people around you are going through,
Hold right there. But why wasn't David afraid?
because again, he was identifying with his God in him.
David knew his identity.
Correct.
Again, why I use Goliath, because sometimes in the journey on that
Yeah.
path, we
Hmm.
lose self, we lose identity.
Correct.
So for
Correct.
me, I can't. A mountain brings peace and joy,
Yeah.
happiness to me. I need to be, and I'm talking about me. I get
Yeah.
provoked. So sometimes
Okay.
when I see the Goliath is standing in front of me and calling me those names, I got to remember. I got to look in the mirror and say, "Wait a minute, this Negro talking to me. I'm a warrior.
Right.
I'm a
Right. Absolutely.
who
So do
you
you
who you
feel
talking
more
to?"
so? So then my question to you is, do you feel more so that you have to be called to arms in your journeys? Calling you to arms is where you find yourself more successful in the journey itself?
I think sometimes, again,
Okay.
sometimes I
Yeah.
can be self motivated and I can move forward in
Okay.
the space of the valley or the journey. But
Mhm.
sometimes the journey, so my last experience when I talked a few weeks ago
Yeah.
about that relationship,
Yeah.
a month ago, whatever that was, when I was talking about that, that situation provoked me.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
situation, what the devil meant for evil to destroy me,
Yeah.
because that was Delilah that had cutting off my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the midst of that, encountering that counterfeit, it provoked me, as it did Samson,
Mhm.
that he had lost, his hair had been cut off, he had lost his
Mhm.
glory and his power, his mission, his purpose and
Yeah.
destiny. And it provoked him so much so that he said, Lord, give me just one more chance.
Man. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what it does
So
for me. Again, I can only speak for me. I don't know what that does for other people, but for me,
yeah. I see, and so I see that in you, and you speak about warriorness and all of those things. So I can see you getting called to arms. To me, um, I battle
I love how you
mentally,
said
and
that,
so
though.
I battle mentally, and I battle mentally and struggle strategically. How about that?
Ooh, say
Um,
that again.
I said I battle mentally, but I struggle strategically.
Mm,
So when I am in battle, I am already planning. I'm strategic with my movement.
mhm.
Where you're on battle mode. But in a battle, you think about the war, you need the warriors, you need the people who are going in and running in, but they have to have a plan. That's where I come in. I'm the strategy. And so I feel like sometimes God puts you in those situations to where you have to grow that muscle, that warrior muscle, that
Yeah,
strategy muscle, that
yes.
survivor muscle. I tell people sometimes when people ask me about my station and where I am with me and God, I talk to God like he's my homeboy. We friends, but at the same time,
Say that
like
again.
any friend, I said I talk to God like a homeboy because we friends.
Yeah.
Um,
But how
but
important is that?
huh?
How important is that?
That is huge to me because and the reason why I say that me and God are friends is because everything that I have gone through with human friends, I have gone through with God. You know what I'm saying? I've cried with God. I've been held by God. I've had to maneuver through God. But I've also had to go off on God. I've also been Peter and God. So I think that we get so excited about saying I'm out here jobing it. But you was Peter yesterday. You feel me? Say the honest, be honest.
Be honest, yeah,
I might have been Judas a couple of days. And
yeah.
so I feel like and sometimes I don't know which Judas I could tell you I was that day because I may have went too far. I may have gone, but I think it's the reality of if you're on a journey, and that's what we both say. I'm a king, I'm a queen, I'm a healing, a killer, healing kings and queens. You're saying I'm a warrior, I'm on this journey. We are battling similar, right? But my enemy is different than your enemy, but it is still an enemy, right?
Right. They're
And
still
so I
similar.
think that yeah, we're still and so I feel like sometimes we get so excited about identifying an enemy that you don't identify what's drawing that enemy to you.
Mm. Speak into that. Before you say that,
Hmm.
our producer wants us to remind you in the corner there above Evie is a QR code that takes you directly to
Oh,
Pod TV
oh,
website. So if you want to learn more about this show and get the archives of the show, the new shows that are coming, Unbreakable Souls, and the new show that Evie and I are going to put together, Kingdom Kings and Queens, or whatever we're going to dub it. We'll have that by next week. But that's where you're going to be able to find that initially. So use that
mhm.
QR code right now if you can, and pull down the Pod TV website, and you'll be able to find us and other great shows, because Pod TV is amazing. And we
Absolutely.
give homage to Pod TV right now and give thanks
Yes,
for the opportunity
absolutely.
to be doing what we love to do. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You had a question. I'm
Brief,
sorry.
brief commercial I threw out there, but no, I think I lost my thought now. Doing that
I was talking
commercial.
about we always we identify the enemy, but we don't talk about how it's into us. You see what I'm saying? The enemy is in you at times, and sometimes what you have to be honest is the roller coaster of the journey, right?
Mhm.
We're always talking about, like I said, people cheer on your triumph, but sometimes if I didn't have that battle, then the
Right,
person that you love so much about me, I couldn't have been,
right,
right? So I needed those things, and so there's gonna be you need Peter. They all have to matter. Everybody's had a role because truly in all honesty, I mean, would you believe so much in Jesus Christ if there was no Judas?
right. And for me,
You know.
because of my experience, I of course
Mhm.
I celebrate that you come through and you're on the backside
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
side of the journey. But I
Mhm.
always want to know, okay, tell me about what you went through. Because for me,
Right.
again, like we've been talking about all night, that's the
Mhm.
power. That's
Right.
growth. That's, there's growth in the struggle, there's growth in pain, there's
Right.
lessons that can only be learned in darkness.
Mhm.
There's things that only
And we're
can be
and we're
taught
talking
in pain.
about, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a climb. So where did you climb up from?
Right.
Right? We can, like I said, we're always talking about the climb. But when you're climbing up, and you get to the top, what I think we lack right now in humanity is the reach back, right? We don't reach back. We just get up there and be like, "Woo, oh my God, I made it." But did you though? Because you weren't supposed to do it by yourself. So
Right.
there's others that were supposed to come up with you, and sometimes we forget those people because we didn't deem them journey worthy.
Well, I'm gonna pause there because actually I want to throw something at you. Yes, I
Hmm.
agree with what you said, but
Hmm.
as you were saying that, it reminded me of a message that Bishop Jakes preached that's called "Stay with the Asses." I don't know if you remember that.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
Abraham was called to sacrifice his beloved son Isaac, and
Hmm.
he
Hmm.
gathered the servant. He didn't hesitate. Grabbed the wood, the servant, his son, and went up the mountain. The
Hmm.
climb began, but it was a test, and obviously Abraham passed the test because he was at the
Hmm.
point they had reached the cleft, and the Lord said, "Look up there, and that's where I want you to do the sacrifice."
Hmm. Hmm.
So we're talking about this climb, but in that moment, Abraham made it clear. He turned back to the servant, humble servant who was just trying to do his job and serve his master. He said, "Stay with the asses."
Hmm.
What he meant by
Hmm.
that, the level of climb that he was going to was only
Right.
meant for him and his son. So
True.
yes,
True.
I want you people out here, I want you to understand there's climbs that, to Evie's point, yes, we want to pull people up alongside
Hmm.
with us. That's
Hmm.
the call or the purpose of that climb. But there's
Hmm.
also climbs that are just for you.
Yeah, that's true.
Or saying, turn around
That's
to them
true.
behind you and say, hey, hey,
Hmm.
hey, whoa, stay with the asses, because this level that I'm going to now is just for
Yeah.
you, and I can't take you there.
Right.
And
I
that's
think
okay.
I think that is something we do have to get into that mindset. I feel like, especially me being in the mindset and in a healer mindset and being a healer, I do want everybody to go. I'm not going to lie and say that's ever my
No,
mindset.
still
But
me.
I do have a hard time when God says no. I do have a hard time with, but Lord, I thought they can't go. And I had to start accepting that if I'm going to walk around the earth and say I'm called, then it wasn't a conference call, you
Right.
know.
Right. And then sometimes, to be selfish, maybe it's because your experience, the things you have gone through,
Yeah.
the reward. Remember what I talked about with Will Smith
Mhm.
said, you've come through that
Mhm.
pain, and now is your reward, and that's for you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what you do if you want to share it and parse it out, that's that's up to you. But that blessing, or that elevation, or that new
Mhm.
anointing, or new vision, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see both sides of the coin. I just wanted to make that kind
No,
of
I think that's awesome.
yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think some of the most beautiful flowers are born in the mud, which my favorite flower is a lotus flower.
I was waiting
And
on the
they
moment.
are, yeah. I mean, my favorite flower is lotus flower. I have tattoos of lotus flowers because they are the only flower, as beautiful as it is. They come from the dirt. They are born in the dirt, which I believe is such a good metaphor for children of God. It's such a good metaphor for humanity in this moment. We have to climb up from the dirt and push through all of these horrible things sometimes, or all these big things or painful things, to emerge something beautiful. I think sometimes we forget to congratulate the next version because it's not
Oh,
comfortable anymore,
yeah,
right? We're not wanting that person because that person's going to take work. I think you have to congratulate the new version. Hey, man, I got us this far,
right.
right? There's this new thing being birthed in me, this new fire that's set ablaze, this new. And so when you get to that thing, you're like, but I'm real comfortable, right? I'm real complacent. I've made it to the biggest part of this room, and I'm doing real great right here, Lord. I don't want to. And he's like, yeah, but I got you comfortable here because I need you uncomfortable there. So
Right.
this new version of you has to emerge. It has to come through. And birthing it is not going to be easy. It's not going to be comfortable, but it will be worth it, right?
But
But it is
I
hard
mean,
to nurture that.
what we were talking about pre-show, that
Hmm.
I think it breaks my heart when you realize toxic situations and we become so comfortable with those situations.
Yes, absolutely.
When we know it's a bad situation, we know it's a bad
Hmm.
relationship, we know we need to move out of that partnership and business.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
because it's become so comfortable and it's become our norm,
Hmm.
isn't that crazy
Hmm.
that norm becomes dysfunction, or dysfunction becomes our
Yeah,
that when
right.
a
I
new
think
thing does
yeah.
come, or a new thing
Hmm.
does come, we are reluctant to choose the better
Hmm.
opportunity
Hmm.
because, to your point, it is now uncomfortable, but it's
Yeah,
normal.
it is. It's normal. It is now uncomfortable, but it's fear, fear
Right.
based and fear mongering. But it's a huge fear to accept that maybe where you thought you had reached, your highest level of this, or I've done enough, and left my mark on the world. And I think, people who love me will remember me. You kind of get into that kind of, it's okay. I don't have to,
Right.
I had this drive, but I don't want to, or it's too hard. Um, but to my point, like I stated in on Saturday when I spoke, I got off of a table. One of the things that I've been saying to people, and God has just been putting in my spirit, the same person that got on that table is not the same one that got up.
Come on.
And it's
Come
her
on.
turn. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? It's her turn. So
Yeah.
I have to now say, congratulations, right? I got
Yeah.
us this far. It's
I,
time
you
to
read
tag
my
in.
mind.
It's time to, it's time to do something new.
You read my mind,
Yeah.
because I was going to
Mhm.
congratulate you right there anyway.
Oh.
That congratulations, Evie, for allowing old Evie to die so that
Mm.
new Evie could live. And we don't
Mm-hmm.
understand that to
Yeah.
get to the new version, the old version has to die.
Has to die away. Has to die
So
away.
when I think about
Has
that
to die
last
away.
relationship I was in, as
Hmm.
painful and stuff as that was, traumatic, that
Yeah.
version of Gary had to die.
Had
He
to
had
go.
to
Had
experience
to.
all of that
Yes.
counterfeit to be able to move
Yeah.
forward and become the new version of him, to see the
Yeah.
authentic, the real that's in front.
Yeah.
And we just
I
don't want
think
to.
it's a level of yeah. It's a level of acceptance also. To your point, you said, I had to, not only do you have to die, but you have to be stripped away, and that's
Mhm.
not easy. I don't know anybody, if you've ever cleaned chitlins, or if you've ever stripped back a full turkey or a piece of, some chicken. You pulling that, it takes time. It takes a little toughness. It takes a little, what they grandma used to say, elbow grease in it, that you had to do something. So when you have to be stripped back, sometimes you've been holding on to that old version because it is comfortable,
Okay, now you're
right?
hitting it. Now you're hitting it. So I want you. This is where I need Evie, the queen, the healer of
Okay.
queens and kings, and also the counselor in you, the mother in you, the
Mhm.
woman of God.
Mhm.
There are
Mhm.
so many people in Misfits Managed Nation and in other places that are stuck in that cave of dysfunction.
Mm.
Talk them out. How do they get out?
I think the first thing you have to do is decide that it's not functionable, right?
Mm,
Dysfunction functions well, but
yes.
is it functionable? Have you gotten so complacent in that place that it's not comfortable anymore? The elastic is wore out on those pants. You see what I'm saying? The shirt has been washed too many times, it's losing its shape.
Yeah.
Have you gotten
Dating.
so comfortable that the hole in the bottom of the shoes is so comfortable you don't even feel the rocks anymore? Have you gotten complacent with the waste of yourself?
Waste
Right?
of your ooh.
Right. So while you are wasting time, wasting space, wasting energy, wasting emotion, while you wasting away, have you gotten so comfortable in your waste that you are now the toxicity of you? And if you can answer yes to any of those things, then expand,
Yeah, because now you
expand.
become the enemy.
Right. Now you have become the enemy. You have to expand. We get into a place where we are septic in our loving somebody, septic in our, I just want you to be the one, septic in, please love me too. We so septic that
Mm,
I had to sit back and talk to myself when I started thinking about the things I allow, right? And I think when people say that, you automatically think the worst things. Oh, you allow him to hit you. You allow him. But what did I allow? I also allowed partial friendships. I allowed people to lie to my face. I allowed myself to be a people pleaser. I allowed myself to lay down with somebody that wouldn't stand up for me. I allowed my mindset to be changed into who you said I was. I allowed you to reshape me. I allowed you to change me. If I allowed, then I have become so septic to me
mm.
that my worth is in what I allowed.
So are you actually saying that we have to be self-aware and that we have to be have self-accountability? That
Yes.
yes, even though some of these traumas were perpetrated upon us, that we share blame within am I
Yeah.
hearing it right? Are you
Yes, I am. I'm telling you that yes, because my thing is here's this. The last person that broke my heart, I gave it to him.
come on, girl.
So if the last person that broke my heart, right, I gave it to him. So the question is, where did I go wrong in
Come
my
on.
self view that I could give my heart to you and you
Knowing
mistreated,
that you were gonna break it.
knowing that you was gonna break it.
How many
So
times
if
have
I
you
if
done
I
that?
exactly, how many times have you set you up to be set up?
Yeah. And on the climb of
You
life,
see, yeah,
how many
yeah,
times do we put ourselves in situations that we know
right,
we're going to fail, but we do it anyway?
correct.
And then
But
we
we do it
oh, I
anyway,
can't understand what happened here.
right? And then my problem is, why you doing it anyway? Who are you proving it to?
Come on.
If the chaos is you, who can you prove it to? What I would dare to say is, think about the last five people that you let love you,
Mm,
okay? And then while you think about those last five people, when you have those five people, think about in your mind, write out a list of what was similar and what was separate.
because
I
this
didn't
I had
say
to do
different.
myself. This is painful what
Right.
she's talking about.
Right. So I want you to hear me. What is similar and what is separate, not different. See, because there's something about that person that I allowed you to do what I saw you doing because it's very possible that what I saw you lacking is me. Right. So
Hmm.
I saw that you're not somebody who can love well, but I'm somebody that overloves, right? You're
So
not
I got
somebody
love for
that
both
can
of us.
yeah, you're not the type of person that likes to be your love language may be something different than mine, but I'm going to adapt my love language because that's yours.
Hmm.
When did I start changing me to be with you,
Mm.
right? So if I'm doing those things, when did you have to think back because sometimes the setup was on me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was setting me up so that my future self can be distracted by the one I'm playing right now.
See, this is powerful because this is what I was talking about. This is what I had to do in the
Yes,
mirror, looking at myself coming out of that last relationship. Because I'm like,
yes,
I can't. I can't even blame her for all of this because I
Yeah.
allowed all this. It's things I
Yeah.
saw and just ignored. Things were a mirror of me that I drew and then didn't check and didn't
Hmm.
change. So
Hmm.
the pain of the trauma made me change, made me become a
Hmm.
better person. The old
Yeah.
version, so we were talking to earlier about the Phoenix.
Yeah.
That version
Yeah.
of Mary not only had to die, it had to be burned
Yeah.
to crisp, to ashes.
So I don't know if you ever watched any of the Harry Potter movies. I know that I'm kind of getting here, but I'm bringing you around. I'm bringing you around
Come
the Harry
on.
Potter movies.
This is
So
this is
in
this is Managed Nation. This is a la Lauren because you know Lauren
right.
is Harry Potter right
Oh,
here.
oh, okay. Well, hey, hey.
Come
This
on.
one's for Lauren, girl. So in the Harry Potter movie, in Dumbledore's office, there is a phoenix there, and there is one movie I cannot think of the name of it in this moment, but that Harry and Dumbledore are in his office, and the phoenix looks withered and broken down, and it's dying. And Dumbledore is walking around. He's the biggest wizard. He's walking around quietly. And he says, "Yeah, it looks like he's about to pass." He said, "But rebirth is imminent."
Hmm.
Right? So you watch this bird wither down and burn and turn to ashes. And then Harry feels some kind of way. He's like, and Dumbledore, just keep watching.
Yeah, that's
So
beautiful.
Dumbledore tells him to keep watching. And in that moment, you see this little bitty birdie start coming up from these ashes. Now, the bird's not full grown. I want you to hear me. The phoenix that has to be reborn is not grown.
Right.
Okay. He's born. So if he's reborn, that means he has the ability to relearn
Hmm.
how to walk again, talk again, eat again, choose again, fly again. But he had to be reborn, right? So if we are taking that concept, we'll take it away from God. Let's go to Dumbledore and Harry Potter. If we're taking it to that concept, then the only way for you, the you that you had to come to, the you that allowed that relationship, the you that chose her in the first place, the you that allowed you to think that that was enough for you. When did the you choose?
Mm.
Now, when the you chose, where was you at? Where was your mindset? Had you taken the time to heal from the time before?
Right. Right.
Were you in a snowball of love me please?
Yeah.
Okay? So if we're in the snowball of love me please, then can I truly say that I chose you, or did I choose something that distracted me from me?
Ooh, that's good, girl.
So if I chose, so what I did is I chose a
We got the
project to
mental
keep me
note. We're
out of
gonna have
me.
to add that. We're going to add that in Kings and Queens. That's good. We're going to dive into that because
I mean, yeah.
it's reminding me of a show we haven't started. I think I can't remember if we did it or not. Called Rebirth
Hmm.
that I want to talk about. We can talk about in our show, but
Yeah.
because we all go through that rebirth. And when I'm talking about rebirth, this one is a little different spin. I'm talking about the eagle.
Yes.
The eagle is destined to
Yes.
live 70 years, on average.
Hmm.
But at about 30, 35, 40 in that time range, the eagle has to fly away. It goes to a really high mountainous peak. It bangs its beak against the rock
Breaking it. Hmm.
to break
Hmm.
its beak. Uh,
Hmm.
when its beak grows back, then it uses its new beak to pluck out its talons.
Correct.
Okay, and then it uses its new beak to pluck out its feathers all over its body.
Hmm.
So think about the pain, agony,
Right.
the trauma that eagle has to go through just to be
Hmm.
reborn. But once
Right.
all that's said and done, the new beak is set and hardened, the new talons grow in, the new feathers. That beak is powerful as if it was born
Yes.
all over again. And it can last
Right.
next, 30, 35 years.
So with that, I would say perfect rendition, totally awesome, says it a lot. What I would also say is that he had to fly high enough to go through the pain.
Hmm.
Right? So we don't get to that. We forget that we have to plug in first. So sometimes our pains in our situationships, relationships, indoor ships, friendships, business ships, all the ships, sometimes our pain level of all of our ships is that we got on it without our net. You forgot your purpose of the ship,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Every encounter got you to the next version of who you needed to be. Sometimes my pain was in my purpose of my power.
Hmm. It is actually
But as you said, but yeah, but actually what you're saying is the ego has to go so high. Not only does the ego have to go so high, and I love that you chose the ego. That's amazing. The reason why I say that is not only does the ego have to go so high, but egos holler out
hmm
while they're going through that process because it is a hugely painful process. Just
yeah,
imagine pulling out your fingernails, toenails, taking your hair out one strand at a time. This is what this ego is going through, but you have to reshape yourself as an eagle to the lowest version of you, completely barren, no leaves, completely helpless, no way to defend myself. I have
hmm
to be completely stripped back to come out soaring
to your
like an
lowest common
eagle,
denominator,
right?
you.
To my lowest common denominator. So sometimes I dare to ask, and we'll talk about this some more, but I dare to ask sometimes, does that also mean that I had to choose somebody beneath me to rise up?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to chew on that one for a minute.
Well, meals up, my brother. You know I stay cooking. I'm
I
just
like that.
saying.
I like that. Did you catch in my story though the isolation? Because we're talking about the climb. That
Yes,
sometimes you're going to have to go through some climbs by yourself.
yes, by
By
yourself.
yourself, you and God.
Yes, yeah.
The
And I
eagle.
think that we forget how important that is. I don't have a problem in my singlehood because I know that God is in my hood with me.
That He's got me.
So I'm not even in my singlehood. I'm in my protected hood,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm cocooning right now. Me and Jesus, we cocooning right now.
Yeah.
And I
That's
can't
a whole nother good
I
one.
can't afford, yeah, I can't afford for anybody to mess up my chrysalis out here when I'm trying to be reborn,
Yeah.
right? So it takes a lot to become a butterfly. Everybody likes them and they're real pretty. But if you really look at the process of the caterpillar and the chrysalis and the bust out and the how everything has to be broken, everything. If you look at anything that has to be reborn, look at the process. It's never fun.
Yeah. It's violent.
But we don't want that.
Yeah.
We want the pretty part. We want the wedding and the living, and we want the babies and the life, and we want all these things. But what if I'm sick when you met me? What if I wasn't? What if our vows mean something different, right? What if you don't know about sickness and health because you ain't never been through that?
Right.
What if you don't understand about richer or poor? What if
Yeah.
you
But
think that's
you
money?
just don't know the value of vows.
Right. What if you don't? What
Yeah.
if you
A
think that
vow
richer or
is
poor has
made
something to do
before
with
God made it.
financial?
So yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, but you have a lot of people that think richer or poor is financial.
Yeah. Uh-uh.
What about your poor attitude?
Yeah.
What about your poor employment history? What about your poor financial ways of doing things?
Yeah.
Because yeah, if I'm taking you with your baggage. Can I really afford what comes with you? But I was looking beneath me so that I didn't have to lift me up.
hmm
So I accepted less from you, expected more from me, and couldn't understand why my even unevenly yoked was a problem.
This is good. This is good.
You know,
Hey, so Misfits Managed Nation. I mean, this has been, you put the two of us in a room, but I'm telling you, it's always going to be juicy.
man, it's gonna go down.
Come back with us next week and we'll conclude this. And I'm really challenging the queen because we've thrown some stuff out there. We've got more to unpack, but being the
Yeah,
clinician that she is, I want her to give you some tips. And I'm a deep dive too and come up with some tips
let's
that we
do
don't
it.
want to leave Misfits Managed Nation without solutions. We
Yes,
talk about
absolutely.
problems and issues, but we want to give you some solutions,
And
some
not only that,
practical ways to walk through this.
yeah, and Miss Fish Marriage Nation, we actually would love it if you gave us some information and some topics that we could talk about, things
Mhm.
that you want to hear, things that you want to unpack. If there's something I said tonight that you want me to clarify more, or just for us to dig into it deeper, because here we are building you a pie and we're slicing it up, but we have to make sure that it's edible for you. So if that's the case, then allow us that time to cook, let us
Yeah,
cook.
yeah, this was good. So join us back next week. Same time, same bat channel, same bat time. Will be back with me again next week. I'm sure our producer Mark is going to jump in. He's always got his 2 cents. We'll try to make sure he keeps it G and PG, and I go R. Okay, here he comes. Here he comes. Here he comes. We'll try to make sure he keeps it PG and G, and I go
try
R.
to keep it in the middle of the floor. You're the one that can go off the rails as well. So I'm sure that Evie can have her momentum going off the rail also, because we can all go down our little rabbit holes and everything like that. But I'll try to keep it away from the rabbit holes and all of that, because it's some very engaging conversation, and it's important conversations that you and Evie are having, and you've been having for a while here on this show with some other guests as well. But it's very important conversations that need to be had. And like you said, hopefully folks will be reaching out on that QR code, and they can even ask questions on that QR code that I had up there earlier as well. So that's part of one of the presidents of the network, that they created that, and it's going on most of the shows and everything. So they're trying to get some more interactive things and all of those lines. And by the way, the other founder came up with a new idea that I'm supposed to announce to every show, but they are going to come up with games. So think of a game for this show, because apparently they're going to give away prizes and everything. So you can think of a game and all along those lines. So if you can think of a game and all, but Nick Spalveda, one of the other founders, said that he wants every show to come up with a gamification, and it's also to engage people in conversation. So it can be, it needs to be a probably PG or G game. It doesn't need to be an R or an X game. But if you can come up with a game idea, and apparently they've got some money that they're going to give away to some of the winners and everything.
I don't know. It sound like we need to start playing checkers, not chess. Let's do it.
Right. Mark, before we go, I do want you to put up that message that we just received. The answer to the call, Miss Evie called out, and we got a response. So throw that up there, Mark. From
oh,
isn't that sweet?
Oh, so many questions. Oh, thank you. That's amazing. Thank you, Miss Melissa. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we are excited about next week. We are excited about what's coming with the new podcast that we're going to create. I'm excited for Unbreakable Souls coming in a couple weeks. So great things coming here on Pod TV. Don't just watch us. Get on that QR code and check out all the various items that are out there. I mean, there's something out there for everybody. Whatever your appetite that Miss Evie was talking about, whatever it is that you need to be chewing on, there's something out there. So, Mark, why don't you take us out, brother?
I'll take us on out. Like you said, there are all kinds of shows. We've got a show about Ukraine, Russia, and what they're going through. We've got a chess show. We've got a Latin American show that is on Sunday. And a lady that I think both of you know does a show with her son about the epidemic of bullying. And that being Stephanie Hockenhall and Jean and everything like that. So there are a number of shows like that. And of course, I've got my show on Wednesdays, which is just casual conversations with people sharing positivity. And I modeled it after my parents' old Bidwiz games and everything. So it's called the Online Dinner Party, and it's just people that are gathering on a Wednesday afternoon during dinner time, having casual conversation and learning from each other and sharing positivity. So
what time is that, Mark? I'm about to jump on that.
Yeah,
all right.
Please jump on that, both of you at some point, because like I said, there's guests that come from all kinds of background, and all I ask is that when they leave, they give a word of positivity and they tell how they can be contacted and any things that they might not have got to. And it's usually anywhere from 4 to 6 people on the show, and it's just a casual conversation. And I like it when people wind up talking to each other. So even though I'm the main interviewer, I like it when the other interviewers wind up conversating with each other like you would at an actual house party. Or
Okay, I love it. Let's do it.
Yep. So I will invite both of y'all on. So maybe not this Wednesday, but an upcoming Wednesday, I'll have both of y'all clap on, and who knows who might be on with you. Because like I said, I just invite random people, and I'm never 100% sure who's going to be there. And that's what makes the fun conversation and all of that.
Right. Okay.
Cool. But we're going to get out of here with a very important issue that I know both of you have addressed to some degree on this show. And it's one that I play quite often on this show. But I think that right now it's good to go out with a note about mental health. Because as this PSA says, mental health does matter and mental health is important. We'll go out with this note about mental health.
And EVP.
And their producer, Mark Lee. And let's hear about mental health.
We are sending you signals every day.
We are sending you signals every day.
We're sending you signals every day.
We're sending you signals every day.
I'll be feeling sad, but you're too busy to notice.
We are sending you signals every day.
I'll tell you that I'm feeling afraid,
but you'll just tell me everything's okay.
I'll get real angry about something, but you'll take it personally.
We are sending you signals every day. My grades will drop.
And you'll yell at me for not trying.
I stopped caring about how I look.
And you didn't even notice.
We are sending you signals every day.
I don't see my friends anymore.
And you think it's good that I'm always home.
We are sending you signals every day.
I'll tell you, I wish I could go to sleep and never wake up.
And you tell me to stop staying up so late.
We are sending you signals every day.
I need you to look.
I need you to listen.
And ask me if you can help.
There are moments in life we wish we could freeze in time. We live them. We live for them. They are intimately personal. They are gladly shared. What is life if we cannot experience these moments of joy, wonder, and happiness? We want people to experience more of life's precious moments. To do that, we must be healthy in heart and mind. For the heart is where life's moments are felt most, and the mind is where these moments become memories and are relived again and again. It's why we've made better heart and brain health our mission, and together we've made an extraordinary impact. Healthier adults, more active children, stronger survivors. But we are just beginning. Until there's a world free of heart disease and stroke, we'll be there, making a healthier, longer life possible for everyone. You may ask, why do we do what we do? The answer is simple. Because we are the American Heart Association and the American Stroke Association. And life is why.